It began with a slip on black ice in a grocery store parking lot, an ordinary morning that ended with the world falling silent around me. I am Beatrice Jackson, and for the past 3 years, my life has existed in a quiet I never asked for. No laughter of my grandchildren, no hum of the kitchen, no voice of my daughter Simone reaching out to me, only stillness. I watched the world continue, saw conversations happen, smiles exchanged, but I could hear none of it. It was as if the soundtrack of my life had vanished in an instant. Every greeting, every joke, every tender word felt locked away, slipping through my fingers like grains of sand I could no longer grasp. I learned quickly to move with the rhythm of others, to nod at the right moments, to catch cues from the smallest shifts in expression. My days were measured in gestures, written notes, and a constant effort to read lips perfectly. Simone tried her best, her devotion unwavering, but I could sense the strain she carried for both of us. Even Desmond, her husband, who once seemed distant but polite, began showing impatience, an edge I couldn't fully comprehend, but could feel through the weight of his glances and sighs. The house, once alive with the sounds of our family, became a quiet stage where I played the part of a woman who could no longer hear. Then, 6 weeks ago, my world began to change. Dr. Alistair called me to test a new device, an implant that could restore hearing. The procedure was long and challenging, the recovery slower than I expected. But the moment the device activated, the room filled with sound. It was sharp, unusual, almost mechanical at first, yet unmistakably real. I could hear the soft rustle of his jacket, the click of the computer, and most importantly, his voice speaking directly to me. "You can hear." Tears came, unrestrained, as the sounds I had missed for 3 years flooded back into my life. Yet, I did not share this miracle immediately. I wanted to surprise Simone, to reveal this gift at my birthday, and for a brief, shining moment, I imagined the joy on her face. But that joy, I would soon discover, was only the beginning. There was something I was about to hear that would shift everything I thought I knew about my family. And in that silence, I realized that knowing was power. The days until my birthday would become a test of patience, observation, and quiet strategy. I had regained my hearing, but I had also stumbled into secrets no one expected me to uncover. Are you ready to hear what I discovered in the silence that everyone assumed was mine alone? Subscribe now, because this story is just beginning, and you will not want to miss a single moment. For 3 years, my life moved in carefully measured steps. I learned to follow conversations by watching lips, noting the slightest twitch of a smile or the narrowing of an eye. Notepads became my constant companions, their pages filled with hurried scribbles from Simone, explanations for things I could no longer hear. Each gesture, each motion, carried a meaning I had to interpret quickly or risk missing the message entirely. I became an observer in my own home, studying the patterns of voices I could no longer sense. Meals were accompanied by silent exchanges, the clatter of silverware on plates the only rhythm guiding our interactions. I memorized routines, anticipating questions and responses, so I could reply at the right moment without giving away the emptiness that pressed against my ears. Simone was tireless. She adapted as if she had been born for this role, speaking slowly, exaggerating movements, and leaving detailed notes when conversations were too complex. Her patience was immense, but I sensed the fatigue in her shoulders, the faint tension in her jaw after long days. I could see it in her eyes. Worry for my comfort mingled with the quiet burden of responsibility. She loved me. That was clear. Yet the demands of care weighed on her, shaping a version of her that was careful, calculated, and exhausted. Desmond, her husband, reacted differently. He was polite, yes, but his patience had limits. When explanations took too long or I misread a word, his sighs were sharp, his glances sharp enough to cut through my quiet composure. I could not hear the frustration in his voice, but his body spoke it clearly. Every fold of his brow, every tension in his hands told a story I had to translate without error. There were moments of quiet joy, though. My grandchildren Miles, Trinity, and little Elijah continued their play as if the world had not changed for me. I could see their happiness in every leap, every shared secret in the backyard. I felt a strange kind of closeness in watching them, noticing patterns and laughter rhythms I could no longer hear but could almost feel in the vibrations of their movements. Still, each silent observation was bittersweet. I longed for their giggles, for the simple words they would call to me, for the sound of my daughter's voice reading a story aloud. Every day without hearing was a reminder of what had been lost, of how fragile our connections could become when one sense disappears. I adapted, yes, but I also learned patience of a different kind, patience with myself, with the limitations that now defined my daily life. And as I adjusted, I discovered a quiet strength, a resilience born from isolation and necessity. This existence demanded vigilance, an alertness to the smallest cues, a mastery of the silent language that had replaced sound. Have you ever depended on someone in ways that made you feel both grateful and trapped at the same time? Could you keep your composure while relying entirely on the attentiveness of others for every detail of daily life? I invite you to consider that as my story continues, because what I was about to overhear would test every skill I had built in these years of quiet observation. 6 weeks ago, a call from Dr. Alistair shifted everything. He invited me to test a new hearing implant, a procedure that promised to restore what had been lost. The day of the activation was tense. My hands trembled slightly as the device was positioned behind my ear. The first moments were strange. Sounds were sharper than I remembered, carrying an almost mechanical quality, unfamiliar yet alive. I could hear the whir of the medical equipment, the shuffle of Dr. Alistair's shoes, and then, unmistakably, his voice. You can hear. It was clear, steady, and entirely real. My heart raced as layers of silence lifted, and I experienced the world in a way I hadn't in years. Tears ran freely, unbidden, as the room filled with noises both trivial and profound, the subtle click of his pen, the rustle of his coat, and the steady rhythm of my own breathing. I could have shared the news immediately with Simone, shown her the miracle that had returned to my life. But I hesitated. There was a quiet thrill in keeping the secret, in knowing that I now possessed a power they could not perceive. I would reveal it at my 75th birthday, just days away, and the surprise would be complete. I imagined her eyes widening, the shock and joy on her face when she realized that I could hear her after all these years. The idea of controlling the moment, of having the upper hand for the first time since the accident, filled me with a calm determination. Yet, as I practiced moving through my days in silence, listening only with the implant hidden under my hair, a tension settled in the edges of my awareness. Every word, every sound I overheard was a potential revelation. I began to notice the small slips, the soft conversations of family, the moments of unintended honesty that now reached me. The world had returned in sound, but it also revealed layers of reality I had not been ready to face. Whispers carried meaning, sighs conveyed intent, and in the mundane rhythms of life, I could detect patterns I had never known. I learned quickly to modulate the implant, controlling the volume and filtering the background noise. I practiced moving through the house, interacting with Simone and Desmond as if nothing had changed. Each conversation I overheard became a test. Each interaction a measure of my discretion. The secret I carried was no longer just about joy, it was also a shield, a way to understand the truth without alerting anyone to the shift in my awareness. The stage was set for revelations that would change everything I had believed about my family. And soon, I would have to decide how to respond. Every sound, every whispered intention would be mine alone to interpret. If you think a surprise is just a gift, stay with me. Because what I uncovered would turn expectations upside down, and the quiet power I held would shape the course of the days ahead. Follow along, because this is where the story truly begins. It was 2 days after the implant had been activated that I first overheard it, the conversation that would change everything. Simone and Desmond had come over ostensibly to help with birthday preparations, arranging flowers and checking menus. I positioned myself near the sunroom window, pretending to be absorbed in my book while the implant did its work. Every syllable, every breath between words reached me with precision. I had regained not only hearing, but an awareness of intentions previously hidden behind polite smiles and feigned concern. Desmond was on the phone, his tone low and deliberate. "Yeah, the closing date needs to be firm. December 10th, he said, and my stomach tightened. No, she doesn't know anything yet. The POA paperwork is signed, and once the doctor confirms she's in Serenity Pines, the rest is just formalities. She thought it was updating her will. She's deaf, remember? She just rubber-stamped it." I gripped my book until the spine creaked, forcing myself to remain still. Each word hit like a cold gust. They were planning to sell my home, the house Arthur and I had built together, the place that held a lifetime of memories. Simone's voice followed, slightly hesitant but complicit. "Did he agree to the full amount for the house, Desmond? We need the full market value. The money is supposed to cover the down payment on the new vacation property." Desmond's reply was chilling in its casual calculation. "Yes, the full $950,000. And the best part? We don't have to pay a cent for the move. Serenity Pines handles that, and the transfer of her accounts to our names is set to finalize the day after the sale. We just need her to feel secure this week, give a good show at the birthday." I could hear the dry laugh that followed, the sound so bitter it seemed to echo in my chest. "It's perfect, Simone. She won't even notice the house is gone. Who is she going to tell? She can't talk on the phone, barely texts. We're doing this for her, really. This big house is just a drain." Simone's sigh was almost inaudible, but my implant caught it, layered with faint remorse. "I just wish we didn't have to wait until after her birthday. It feels deceptive." Desmond's words cut deeper than any blade. "It is deceptive, but it's $1 million. Keep your eye on the prize. The deafness was the best thing for our bank account." I froze, my mind racing. Every year, every effort, every moment of trust they had commanded from me had been manipulated. I felt anger clawing its way up, then a wave of grief for the innocence lost. I had planned a surprise, a moment of joy, only to discover I had become part of a plan to profit from my vulnerability. But in that shock, clarity emerged. I could hear everything, and they believed I could not. Their arrogance was my advantage. I allowed a slow, deliberate smile to touch my lips as Simone returned to the room, giving a thumbs up for the party preparations. I nodded, matching her expression, hiding the storm building within. 7 days remained until my birthday. 7 days to observe, to plan, and to turn this betrayal into an opportunity they would never anticipate. Have you ever had someone you trusted reveal their true intentions? Comment below, because I am about to show how the quietest observer can become the most formidable force. The night after overhearing their conversation, I moved quietly through the house, heart steady but mind racing. I had to confirm everything. Make certain that the words I heard were not exaggeration or misunderstanding. In the kitchen, I discovered the laptop Simone had carelessly left open while arranging party decorations. The email inbox revealed everything. Exchanges with the real estate agent, confirmations of the $950,000 sale, dates and signatures authorizing the transfer of my home and assets. Each message was more damning than the last, the intention behind them clear and calculated. There were even texts between Desmond and a friend, boasting about how effortlessly they had maneuvered me out of my home. I recorded nothing digitally. Instead, I copied key details onto a small piece of paper, folding it carefully and tucking it into my purse. It was my evidence, tangible and untraceable. The laptop was shut, wiped clean, leaving no trace of my intrusion. The realization hit me fully. I had in my possession not only proof of betrayal, but the power to act. The following morning, I took my usual walk toward the community center, pretending to engage in a quiet knitting class. Yet, I deviated from my usual path, slipping into a coffee shop far from familiar routes. From a secluded booth, I retrieved a disposable phone I kept for emergencies. I dialed Anya Sharma, Arthur's long-trusted estate attorney. She answered promptly, her voice warm but attentive. "I have discovered misuse of my power of attorney," I said, calm and deliberate. "Simone and Desmond have arranged to sell my home without my knowledge. I need immediate action to prevent this." Anya was shocked but composed. "If you are of sound mind," she said, "we can revoke the POA immediately and freeze the sale. The closing date is set for December 10th. "Yes," I confirmed. "Correct. I want to serve notice before my birthday, before they realize what has happened." She outlined the procedure, documents to sign, notaries to present, and instructions to ensure legal control returned entirely to me. I followed every word carefully, imagining the day when my power would be restored and their scheme undone. In those hours, I felt the shift in myself, the fear and grief of the past 3 years replaced with precision and control. I was no longer a passive observer. I was a strategist, a quiet architect, preparing a counter that they would never see coming. Every move would be deliberate, each action calculated to ensure justice without confrontation until the perfect moment. The stage for my silent counterattack was set. My hearing had returned, my evidence was secure, and Anya Sharma was ready to act. In that stillness, I felt empowerment I had not known in years. A sense of agency returning as the world around me remained unsuspecting. The final act of this drama would soon unfold, and I would no longer be the victim, but the orchestrator of the resolution. The morning of my 75th birthday arrived with the quiet energy of anticipation. I moved through my home as usual, arranging flowers and adjusting decorations. But beneath the calm, every sense was alert. The implant was in place, hidden beneath my silver hair, and every sound was mine alone to interpret. I smiled at the rustle of wrapping paper, the clink of plates, pretending as if the world had not changed, as if I remained unaware of the undercurrents swirling around me. Simone and Desmond arrived early, carrying gifts and an oversized cake. Their voices were warm, practiced, the kind that demanded trust and prompted smiles. I responded with nods and gestures, mimicking the habits I had perfected over 3 years of silence. They believed I was still the passive observer, the deaf grandmother, unaware and dependent. Throughout the day, I monitored every word, every glance, every hushed exchange. Desmond whispered to Simone about the final arrangements, his tone careful, but not careful enough to hide his eagerness. Simone's voice betrayed slight tension as she tried to maintain an aura of concern, masking the excitement of a plan she thought I could not perceive. Each sentence, each phrase was a revelation, confirming the intentions I had already uncovered. I moved among my guests, greeting friends and family with the same practiced gestures, all while my attention lingered on the subtle shifts in Simone and Desmond's behavior. The birthday preparations became a stage, and I, the unseen observer, holding knowledge that would soon reshape the day. The laughter of my grandchildren, the chatter of friends, each sound layered into a mosaic of ordinary life, providing cover for the strategy forming in my mind. In that space, I reflected quietly, asking myself and inviting you, the viewer, to consider: how often do those we love harbor hidden motives? How frequently do intentions remain masked behind warmth and familiarity? It is in these moments of observation, when appearances are maintained, that truth begins to emerge. As the first guests arrived, the cake was set and the decorations sparkled. I continued my act with precision. The world could see only the joyful grandmother celebrating another year, while I held in silence the knowledge that my birthday would become the turning point, the moment when control returned fully into my hands. The living room was alive with conversation, laughter, and the soft shuffle of guests arriving, unaware that the day they had come to celebrate would turn into an unveiling none of them anticipated. I sat quietly, smiling at the greetings, my heart steady, every sound amplified through the implant. Miles, Trinity, and Elijah ran around, squeals of delight filling the air, each note a reminder of the joy I had regained. Simone and Desmond moved through the crowd, their expressions carefully controlled, lips curved in practiced warmth, eyes scanning for signs of approval. At precisely 4 o'clock, the young couple arrived. They were not here for cake or presents, but to perform the final, crucial step in my plan. Cheryl, Miss Sharma's assistant, moved with purpose, and the notary, Mr. Peterson, carried a seemingly ordinary gift bag. I could hear Desmond mutter under his breath as he noticed their presence. A flicker of unease crossing his face, Simone clapped, signaling the moment for the toast. "Time to celebrate, Mama," she mouthed, and Desmond raised his champagne flute, his voice carrying in a practiced, smooth cadence across the room. "To Beatrice," he began, 75 years of strength and perseverance. We are proud to stand by you, making sure everything is secure and taken care of as you deserve." I waited for the applause to fade, allowing the room to settle into a rhythm of polite attention. Then I stood, my movements deliberate, my eyes calm yet sharp, clutching the folded notes containing the proof of their deception. I raised my hand for silence, not the polite quiet of a toast, but a commanding stillness that drew every eye toward me. "Thank you, Desmond," I began, my voice clear and resonant, each word cutting through the air. "That was a lovely toast. But it seems you have misunderstood who is in control here." Gasps rippled through the room. Simone froze, her lips slightly parted, eyes wide. Desmond's face lost color as he caught the full weight of my statement. "I have been hearing you," I continued, adjusting the volume subtly on my implant to ensure every word carried weight. "For 2 weeks, I have known exactly what you discussed in my kitchen, the sale of my house, the transfer of my accounts, and your plans for Serenity Pines. Every phrase, every plan reached my ears while you believed I remained unaware." Simone's attempt to speak faltered, her practiced calm dissolving into panic. Desmond's hand trembled slightly as he gripped his champagne glass, the casual confidence he wore for months now stripped away. "I heard you say the deafness was advantageous for your bank account, that I am a drain on your time," I said, voice steady, deliberate. "I heard everything, and I have acted to reclaim what is mine." At that moment, I gestured toward the 2 guests who had arrived under the guise of friends. Mr. Peterson stepped forward, removing the documents from the gift bag with measured composure. "By order of Miss Beatrice Jackson," he announced, voice firm and official. "The power of attorney previously granted to Simone Jackson and Desmond Jackson is revoked. All assets return to Miss Jackson's sole control, and the sale of the property is legally halted, effective immediately." Cheryl handed Desmond a formal notice, her expression neutral, and the weight of reality descended upon him. He tore the paper in a silent gesture of frustration. Simone's tears were immediate, not of remorse but of thwarted ambition, the truth of their misdeeds laid bare. I turned to my other children, Regina and Malcolm, offering a brief nod. "I will explain everything in time," I said, grounding them in calm while the storm of justice unfolded. Then I faced Simone and Desmond directly. "You offered me a new home, a studio at Serenity Pines. It is only fair you enjoy your fresh start as well. Consider your new address effective immediately." They left the room quietly, faces flushed with shock and humiliation. The celebration of my 75th birthday transformed into the affirmation of restored control and justice. I breathed in the sound of my family's genuine laughter, happy chatter, the lively energy of grandchildren, all now amplified through ears that had reclaimed the world. The moment was complete, the betrayers exposed, the victory earned, and the sound of my life restored. The room settled into a calm I had not felt in years. My children, Regina and Malcolm, exchanged looks of relief and quiet admiration, their eyes reflecting pride that I had reclaimed what was rightfully mine. Miles, Trinity, and Elijah ran around freely, squealing with delight as they explored the safe, familiar space of home. Their laughter, once a distant memory, now filled every corner, rich and bright, a soundtrack of renewal. Simone and Desmond were gone, leaving only the echo of their scheming behind. I felt a lightness I had not experienced in years. The weight of uncertainty lifted. My independence was no longer threatened. I moved through my home freely, aware of every sound, every conversation, every nuance that had been denied to me. I reflected on the lessons learned. Trust is a gift that must be offered carefully. And vigilance is not paranoia, but protection. Strength can emerge quietly, unseen until it is needed most. And the knowledge that one can act decisively restores not only control, but dignity. Sharing moments with family, being present, and listening closely, truly listening, are treasures that should never be taken for granted. I looked at my grandchildren, their faces bright with joy, and realized that life's simplest sounds, giggles, whispers, shouts of delight, carry profound meaning. Independence is not only about physical autonomy, but about knowing when and how to assert one's rights and the courage to confront deception head-on. As the day wound down, I invited my audience to reflect. How do we recognize true intentions among those we love? When do we act to protect ourselves, and when do we choose to forgive? Share your thoughts in the comments, like the video if you found this story inspiring, and subscribe to follow more stories where courage and justice prevail. In reclaiming my life, I discovered that vigilance, empowerment, and careful trust bring not only security but the joy of hearing every note of life's melody once more.